we have talked about energy being a matter of something that you can quantify. So how much you have is something that we can consider to be a quantifiable amount. And we've also kind of talked a little bit about the fact that you can lose energy to certain things in life, and you can gain energy from certain things in life. And so we can consider these our outputs and our inputs. You know, where are you outputting energy? Where are you spending it? What things are you spending it on, and how much energy are you getting back from those things? If you have an interaction with someone, a friend, and you say, "Hi, how are you? I love your jacket." And they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm great. Thank you so much. I love yours." Then you've got this, it's a very simple example, but you've got this kind of mutual exchange. And in a cycling of energy that's positive, you do have mutual amplification. And that is a physics-based understanding of how energy operates. And that's something we'll go into in depth elsewhere, but you do have a mutual amplification when there's a positive energetic exchange. But if you have an exchange where you say, "Hi, oh my gosh, you look amazing, I love your jacket," and your friend says, "Oh, thanks, just had the worst day, just hate my boyfriend," and then you engage in 25 minutes of discussing what happened between her and her boyfriend the night before, and you pay into that, and you listen and you help and you go through it with her, in all likelihood, you will walk away from that experience having spent more energy than you got back. Now, that might be a one-off, and that might be perfectly fine because you might have a balanced relationship where, you know, sometimes you need that kind of feedback from her, and most of the time she's very willing to mutually amplify with you. But oftentimes there are dynamics where the energy that's exchanged, it's not always even, and it's not always of even quality. If you're exchanging positive versus negative, it's not going to have the same beneficial impact for the person receiving negative energy. It's actually ultimately going to be an energy loss. It's like sugar. If you're given negative energy from someone, it's like having a big spoonful of sugar, where it is energizing in a way, but it's also toxic for the system, and it also ultimately causes energetic depletion, just like sugar will cause, you know, an energy low, or over time it will cause bigger problems. So understanding that the measurement of one's own energy, both the quantity and the quality, but ultimately just the quantity, because the quality of energy impacts the quantity. If you get negative, like I just said, if you get negative energy, you will ultimately lose positive energy. So we're really only talking about useful, positive energy levels. We're talking about a matter of quantifying this based on inputs and outputs. So you really have to look at it like a balance sheet, kind of like, you know, a daily expenditure and a daily intake. So your inputs and your outputs are really important. So looking at where you're outputting energy is a first step for sure. What parts of your life are you dedicating a lot of energy to? To consider what aspects of your inputs and your outputs are costing you energetically overall. Like your outputs, we talked about before, being, you know, what are your black holes? What relationships, what aspects of life, what thought patterns, what fears, that's a really big one. What aspects are taking energy from you and not really giving positive energy back? The other thing to consider is with respect to your inputs, people don't always realize that every single thing that you spend mental energy on is an output of energy, but also an input of energy. So if you're watching television, for example, that's a passive intake of a lot of energy. And if you are a lot of like different qualities of energy, I'll say. So you are spending your mental awareness to watch it. So it is an expenditure, you know, there's an opportunity cost to that. If you're watching television and you're watching something that is bombarding you with certain types of emotions. So maybe there's a lot of fear at play. Maybe you're watching the news a lot and it's constant fear mongering, and you are absorbing this on a regular basis. This is something to consider as to whether or not it's going to be helping you rise and keep your energy levels at the place where you are operating with a surplus daily. It's in all likelihood not helping. So one way to improve your overall kind of state as an initial kind of dipping your toes in the water of looking at your life in terms of energetics is to ask yourself, okay, what are my inputs? Are these healthy? If my goal is to find love, find a partner, am I watching a lot of shows where relationships are deteriorating and there's a lot of drama and it's all about the romantic drama and there's divorce and there's betrayal and all these kinds of things? It's not really helping if the answer is yes. It's actually really oppositional to what you're trying to accomplish. If you are trying to become a more powerful business person, then it might not make sense to watch shows where, for example, Shark Tank, where they very quickly will, shoot down the ideas of a fledgling entrepreneur and sometimes humiliate them. I mean, sometimes they don't, sometimes it's great. So maybe you can take the positive from it, but just be sure that your inputs are in line with what you ultimately want to achieve. And so looking at your inputs and looking at your outputs is the first step in creating an energetic budgeting system for yourself to be able to start to work towards a place of containment. And containment means that you have, if you think about it kind of like an energetic bucket. This is how I was taught it by my mentor. She would describe it as an energy bucket. And if your bucket has leaks in it, if it has holes in it, then no matter how much water you pour into your bucket, you're never going to be able to feel fulfilled. It's never going to be at the top. It's not going to stay filled up. It's going to leak out of these holes. So you have to plug those holes before really looking at, okay, where can I start to get more going and start to magnify myself and to amplify myself and to make myself into a person of more gravitas and more magnetism. This is what is behind it. Having a large degree of magnitude within yourself contained is what is completely behind magnetism in life and behind manifestation. So first step, plug the leaks. Take a look at your inputs. Are they hurting you? If so, eliminate them. A media diet is a really easy way to start. What are you watching on television? What are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? Are they in line with what you want? And really examine it closely. Sometimes things purport to be in line with what you want, but they're not. Sometimes you'll get messaging that comes across as super empowering, but it's actually very, it's instilling quite a lot of fear. It's putting you in a place of feeling as though you're not as good as you could be, or you're not as good as you need to be. Well, make sure you're listening to people who are telling you that you are exactly where you need to be. And it's just a matter of owning that.